In Sydney, the average home just cracked $1.5 million. In Melbourne, young couples are being told to save for 15 years before they can scrape together a deposit. Rent in Brisbane has jumped 30% in the last 2 years alone. But here is something most Australians never hear about. Scattered across this country, from the red dust of South Australia to the wild rainforests of Tasmania, there are towns where you can buy a home for less than the price of a second-hand ute. Places where land goes unclaimed. Communities so forgotten by the rest of the nation that entire streets sit empty, just waiting for someone to move in. These are 10 forgotten Australian territories where you can live free. Number 10. Leigh Creek, South Australia. Deep in the Flinders Ranges, about 550 kilometres north of Adelaide, sits Leigh Creek. This town was purpose-built in the 1980s to house workers from the nearby coal mine. At its peak, over 1,000 people called it home. The mine closed in 2015, and the South Australian government sold the entire town to a private operator for just $1. That is not a typo. $1 for a whole town. Today, Leigh Creek is slowly being reimagined as an outback hub for solar energy and tourism. Houses here have been listed for as little as $30,000. Some sit completely empty, keys practically in the door. The red desert landscape stretches endlessly around you, the ancient Flinders Ranges carving purple ridgelines against the sunset. Wedge-tailed eagles circle overhead, and at night, the Milky Way blazes across the sky like someone spilled paint. If you can handle summer temperatures that climb past 45 degrees, this is one of the cheapest fresh starts in the country. Number 9. Zeehan, Tasmania. Tucked away on Tasmania's remote west coast, Zeehan was once the third largest town in the state. Back in the early 1900s, the silver and lead mines were pumping, and more than 8,000 people lived here. Today, the population sits at around 700. The streets are lined with beautiful heritage buildings, many of them crumbling but full of character. Homes in Zeehan have sold for under $50,000. Some have gone for even less. The surrounding wilderness is dense, temperate rainforest, with the wild Southern Ocean just a short drive away. It rains a lot here, but for someone who loves isolation and lush green landscapes, Zeehan is hard to beat. Number 8. Andamooka, South Australia. About 600 kilometres north of Adelaide, in the sunburnt heart of the outback, Andamooka has been an opal mining settlement since the 1930s. Unlike its more famous neighbour Coober Pedy, Andamooka has stayed under the radar. Here is the remarkable part. You can still peg a mining claim on Crown land for a few $100s a year. Some residents live in dugouts carved into the earth, where temperatures stay comfortable even when the surface hits 50 degrees. Houses above ground, if you can call some of them that, have been listed for under $10,000. The town has a general store, a pub, and an endless supply of silence. If you are the kind of person who finds peace in the desert, Andamooka is as close to free living as Australia gets. Number 7. Ravensthorpe, Western Australia. On the south coast of Western Australia, about 500 kilometres southeast of Perth, Ravensthorpe has ridden the boom and bust cycle of mining for over a century. When the nickel mine shut down in 2009, hundreds of families packed up and left almost overnight. Property values collapsed, but Ravensthorpe is making a quiet comeback. The mine has partially reopened, and the local council has been actively encouraging new residents with affordable housing incentives. Homes here can still be found for well under $100,000. The Fitzgerald River National Park sits on the doorstep, and the coastline nearby is some of the most pristine in the entire country. Wildflower season turns the surrounding bushland into a carpet of colour every spring. Number 6. Broken Hill, New South Wales. Broken Hill hardly needs an introduction to most Australians, but what surprises people is just how affordable it has become. This legendary outback city sits closer to Adelaide than Sydney, and it has been bleeding population for decades. What was once a roaring mining metropolis of 30,000 is now closer to 17,000. You can still find solid 3-bedroom homes here for under $150,000, which in today's market is almost unheard of. Broken Hill has a thriving arts scene, a proud history, and some of the most spectacular desert sunsets on Earth. The Palace Hotel, made famous by Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, still stands on the main drag. Artists from around the world come here to paint the shifting light over the barrier ranges, and the town hosts one of the longest-running sculpture exhibitions in the country. If you want outback living with actual infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and cafes, Broken Hill delivers without the $1 million price tag. If you are enjoying this journey through forgotten Australia, tap that subscribe button so you do not miss the next one. Now back to the list. Number 5. Queenstown, Tasmania. Nothing prepares you for the drive into Queenstown. The surrounding hills have been stripped bare by a century of copper smelting, creating an alien moonscape of orange and grey ridges. It looks like Mars dropped into the middle of Tasmania's west coast rainforest. Queenstown's population has fallen from over 5,000 to around 2,000. Homes can be picked up for under $80,000, and some have sold for far less. The town itself has a raw, honest beauty. Heritage pubs line the main street, a gorgeous Art Deco theatre still hosts screenings, and the kind of close-knit community that only forms when people genuinely need each other fills the local footy club on weekends. The surrounding area is world-class for hiking and rafting, with Cradle Mountain National Park and the wild Franklin River both within reach. Number 4. Silverton, New South Wales. Just 25 kilometres west of Broken Hill, Silverton is technically a ghost town. The population hovers around 50 people. It is one of the most filmed locations in Australia, appearing in Mad Max 2, Priscilla, and dozens of other productions. Land around Silverton is extraordinarily cheap. Some parcels have changed hands for almost nothing. The town survives on tourism and art, with a handful of galleries and the famous Silverton Hotel drawing visitors from around the world. Living here means complete solitude, blazing sunsets over the Mundi Mundi Plains, and a sky so full of stars it looks fake. It is not for everyone, but for the right person, Silverton is paradise. Number 3. Norseman, Western Australia. Norseman sits at the western end of the Eyre Highway, the gateway to the Nullarbor Plain. It was named after a horse called Norseman who allegedly pawed at the ground and unearthed a gold nugget in 1894. The gold rush built the town, and over a century later, it is still hanging on. The population is around 600. Homes have been listed for under $50,000, and vacant land goes for even less. Norseman is surrounded by vast eucalyptus woodland and salt lakes that shimmer pink and white in the afternoon light. Kangaroos outnumber people here, and the quiet is the kind that hums in your ears. If you have ever dreamed of driving across the Nullarbor, this is where the journey begins. And unlike many remote towns, Norseman has a roadhouse, a school, and a surprisingly well-stocked supermarket. The locals will tell you the name was earned, and they are proud of it. Number 2. Coober Pedy, South Australia. You knew this one was coming. Coober Pedy is the underground capital of the world. About 850 kilometres north of Adelaide, this town of around 1,500 people has carved an entire civilization into the earth. Churches, hotels, homes, even a bookshop are all built underground to escape the punishing desert heat. The name comes from the Aboriginal phrase Coober Pedy, which roughly translates to white fellas in a hole. You can still purchase a dugout home for under $100,000, and some have sold for a fraction of that. Mining claims for opals are available, and plenty of locals still make a decent living fossicking through the earth. The landscape above ground is otherworldly, a flat expanse of red dirt dotted with ventilation shafts, and mine tailings that stretch to the horizon. Film crews have used this terrain to double for post-apocalyptic wastelands, and honestly, you can see why. Coober Pedy is bizarre, remote, and completely unforgettable. It might be the most uniquely Australian town on the planet. Number 1. Wudinna, South Australia. On the Eyre Peninsula, about 500 kilometres northwest of Adelaide, Wudinna is a small farming community of around 550 people. It does not make headlines, it does not appear on tourist maps, but Wudinna has something extraordinary. The surrounding ancient granite outcrops are among the oldest exposed rock formations on the planet, some dating back over 1.5 billion years. Pildappa Rock, just outside town, rivals Uluru in geological significance, but receives almost no visitors. You can walk up to it on a quiet afternoon and have the entire formation to yourself. Homes in Wudinna can be found for well under $100,000, and farming properties with acreage go for prices that would make a Sydney buyer weep. The community is welcoming, the wheat fields glow golden in autumn, and the night sky is completely untouched by light pollution. On a clear night, you can see the Milky Way reflected in the grain silos. For someone willing to embrace the quiet, Wudinna might just be the most underrated place in the entire country. Australia is enormous. Hidden across its deserts, coastlines, and mountain ranges are communities that time has passed by. Places where the housing crisis feels like a distant rumour. Places where wide open space is not a luxury. It is just Tuesday. If this video opened your eyes to a part of Australia you did not know existed, subscribe and check out the video on screen now. You might be surprised what else is out there.